Before you decide to scroll, pause. Because this message was not meant to reach everyone. It was meant to reach you. I know how this sounds. You've heard bold claims before. You've learned to protect yourself by doubting, by staying alert, by assuming nothing is truly meant for you. But listen carefully, because what you are feeling right now is not curiosity. It's recognition. You didn't click this by accident. You were pulled here at a moment when your heart was quiet enough to hear. I saw your future, and when I saw it, I wept, not from sadness, but from the weight of what you are about to carry, and the beauty you have not yet allowed yourself to believe is possible. There were moments you almost gave up, not loudly, not dramatically, quiet moments, private ones, when you smiled on the outside and questioned everything on the inside. You told yourself, I'll just get through today, then tomorrow, then the next. You wondered if anyone noticed how strong you've been for so long. You wondered if your patience was pointless. You wondered if your waiting was a mistake. I saw those thoughts. You never said them out loud, but I heard them. And this is why I wasn't allowed to speak to you sooner. Because if I had told you too early, you wouldn't have believed it. You would have tried to control it. You would have rushed it. You would have doubted yourself out of it. Timing matters more than effort. And now, the time has shifted. Your future is not loud. It doesn't arrive with applause. It arrives with clarity. I saw a version of you who finally understands why things had to fall apart the way they did. Not because you were being punished, but because you were being redirected. There are doors you begged to stay open that would have broken you. There are paths you cried over that would have emptied you. You were saved from outcomes you thought you wanted. And I know that hurt. I saw nights where you replayed conversations. Days where you carried disappointment like a shadow. Times when you questioned your worth because others couldn't see it. But listen closely now. What is coming for you requires a version of you that could only be shaped through endurance. Not bitterness. Endurance. You were never weak. You were being trained to stand when it finally mattered. There is a moment ahead, very soon, where something you thought was delayed will suddenly make sense. Not all at once, but enough to take your breath away. You will look back at this version of yourself and realize, I survived what I thought would end me. And that realization will change how you walk into rooms, how you speak, how you choose. I saw you standing taller, not because life became easy, but because you finally stopped shrinking to fit into places you outgrew. There are people who will be confused by your calm. They won't recognize you anymore. That's okay. You were never meant to stay recognizable to everyone. Only aligned with who you truly are. You have been asking for a sign. Not a miracle, a sign. This is it. And now the reason you were given 15 seconds. Because hesitation is the only thing that can pull you away right now. Not failure. Not lack. Hesitation. If you stay present, if you keep listening, something inside you will shift permanently. Not emotionally. Internally. You are closer than you think, closer than you feel, closer than you've ever been. Don't rush, don't panic, just stay. This is only the beginning. Stay with me, because what I'm about to say explains why everything changed right before you were ready. I saw the moment your patience was tested the hardest. Right when you thought, I've done everything right. Why is nothing moving? That pause wasn't rejection. It was protection. There were forces around you, distractions, attachments, expectations, that would have diluted what is coming. You would have accepted less just to stop waiting. And that would have cost you everything. So things slowed down. Silence grew louder. People faded. Plans stalled. Not to break you, but to separate you. I saw doors close without explanation. Messages unanswered. Opportunities vanish overnight. You blamed yourself. You questioned your worth. But hear this clearly now. What walked away wasn't meant to walk with you into your future. Your next chapter requires precision. It cannot carry excess weight. It cannot include half belief or borrowed confidence. That's why you were stripped down to your core. I saw you alone with your thoughts more than once. And I saw something dangerous happen there. You started discovering your own voice. Not the one shaped by approval. Not the one trained to please. The real one. That scared you at first. Because once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Once you see clearly, you can't pretend anymore. You noticed patterns. You noticed who only showed up when it was convenient. You noticed who underestimated you because you stayed quiet. They mistook your silence for lack. They mistook your patience for weakness. They were wrong. Your future does not require their validation. It requires your permission. There is a decision coming, small on the surface, massive underneath. It won't look dramatic. No thunder. No spotlight. But the moment you choose differently than you used to, everything begins to realign. I saw relief hit you unexpectedly. Not excitement, relief. Like finally setting down something heavy you didn't realize you were carrying. You stop chasing clarity. Because clarity comes to you. And when it does, you'll understand why I waited. Why I couldn't speak sooner. Why this message reached you now, and not before. You weren't ready to hear it then. But you are now. Your future is no longer fragile. It's locked in motion. And what happens next will prove that none of this was random. Listen carefully now, because this part separates those who feel something from those who step into it. I saw the exact moment you stop questioning yourself. Not loudly, not dramatically. It happens quietly, almost unnoticed. One day, you respond differently. You don't explain yourself. You don't overthink your words. You don't feel the urge to prove anything. And that's when everything shifts. Your energy changes before your circumstances do. And that's how you'll know it's real. You've been waiting for permission. From people. From outcomes. From signs. But your future begins the moment you stop asking. I saw you walking away from something familiar, not because it was wrong, but because it could no longer grow with you. That choice will feel uncomfortable, because comfort has kept you small longer than pain ever did. You are not losing anything important. You are shedding what no longer matches who you're becoming. And here's what most people never understand. What's coming next won't look like what you imagined. It will look better, but quieter. Stronger, but simpler. You won't need to announce it. You won't need to defend it. You'll just know. I saw people who once overlooked you suddenly pay attention. Not because you demanded it, but because your absence speaks louder than your presence ever did. You won't chase alignment anymore. You'll attract it. There is a calm confidence waiting for you. Not arrogance. Not ego. Certainty. And when that certainty settles in, fear loses its voice. You'll still feel nervous, but it won't stop you. You'll still feel unsure, but you won't turn back. That's growth. I saw you realizing something that changes everything. You were never behind. You were being prepared. Prepared to recognize opportunity without desperation. Prepared to say no without guilt. Prepared to say yes without fear. And when it finally arrives, the thing you thought would save you, you'll realize you no longer need saving. Because you became solid before it showed up. Stay present. The final shift is closer than you think. This is the part where everything becomes real. Not emotional. Not symbolic. Real. I saw the moment you stop looking back. Not because it no longer hurts, but because it no longer controls you. That's the difference. You don't erase the past. You outgrow it. And when you do, something unlocks. Your future doesn't rush toward you. It recognizes you. I saw alignment replace effort. Things begin to connect without force. People respond differently to you, not because they changed, but because you did. You stop explaining your vision to those who can't see it. You stop waiting for understanding. You stop shrinking your truth to keep the peace. And peace finally finds you. There is a moment ahead, very soon, where you'll pause and think, why does this feel calm? That calm is confirmation. You are no longer chasing outcomes. You are choosing direction. I saw something else too, and this is important. You are being trusted with influence. Not loud influence. Quiet impact. Your words will land heavier. Your presence will change rooms. People will feel safe around you without knowing why. That's not an accident. You learned empathy through pressure, wisdom through waiting, strength through restraint. And now, you're ready. What you once begged for will arrive differently than expected, but at the perfect moment. Not when you needed it, when you could handle it. I couldn't tell you before because fear would have distorted it. Hope would have rushed it. Doubt would have damaged it. But now you're steady. The next chapter doesn't announce itself. It begins the moment you trust what you already feel. And if you're still listening, still here, still present, then you already know. This wasn't just a message. It was a reminder. Your future is watching you too. You're still here. That alone tells me everything. Because most people would have left by now. They would have felt the pull, and turned away. Not because it wasn't true, but because it asked them to be honest with themselves. You stayed, and that means something in you is already awake. I saw the moment you stopped needing reassurance. It doesn't come from a big win or public proof. It comes from a quiet inner shift where you finally say, I trust myself. That sentence changes everything. You've spent years gathering lessons without realizing it. Every delay taught you discernment. Every disappointment refined your standards. Every setback strengthened your intuition. Nothing was wasted. I saw you stepping into a space where you no longer react, you respond. Where urgency disappears. Where clarity replaces chaos. People will notice, but they won't understand what changed. They'll say you seem different, more grounded, more focused. They won't know it's because you stopped fighting who you are. There is a convergence approaching, timing, opportunity, and readiness aligning at once. That's rare. And when it happens, you won't feel overwhelmed. You'll feel prepared. You won't ask, am I good enough? You'll ask, is this aligned? That's power. I saw you choosing depth over noise, truth over comfort, peace over approval. And in doing so, you quietly step into the life that was always waiting. This is not the end of the message. It's the sealing of it. From this point forward, hesitation will feel unnatural. Self-doubt will feel outdated. And your inner voice, once faint, will become your compass. You don't need more signs. You don't need more confirmation. You already crossed the threshold by staying. What happens next will speak for itself. And when it does, you'll remember this moment. You're entering the part of the journey where silence becomes louder than noise. Not empty silence, but the kind that feels full. I saw you waking up one day and realizing you no longer feel the same urgency to be seen. Not because you gave up, but because you finally arrived inside yourself. That's when things begin to happen fast. You stop announcing your moves. You stop explaining your choices. You let results speak before words ever do. And something subtle but powerful happens. Life starts meeting you halfway. I saw moments where things line up so naturally that you pause and think, why did I ever doubt this? That doubt once served a purpose. It kept you cautious when you needed protection. But now, it has completed its job. You don't need it anymore. There is a confidence growing in you that doesn't seek attention. It doesn't rush. It doesn't compare. It observes. It chooses. It commits. I saw you recognizing opportunities not by excitement, but by peace. If it brings peace, it stays. If it brings confusion, you let it go. That discernment is your upgrade. People from your past may reappear, not to re-enter, but to remind you how far you've come. You'll feel no anger, no longing, just clarity. And clarity is freedom. I saw you becoming selective, not out of pride, but out of respect for your energy. Your time becomes sacred. Your focus sharpens. Your intentions simplify. And when simplicity meets consistency, momentum follows. This is where most transformations go unnoticed by the world, but never by you. You won't feel like you're becoming anymore. You'll feel like you've returned to yourself. And from that place, everything you build lasts longer. Stay grounded. Stay aware. What unfolds next won't ask for your attention. It will earn your trust. You're not chasing the future now. You're walking into it. This is where the truth settles in, not as emotion, but as knowing. I saw the moment you stop asking, when? Because something inside you answers, soon enough. And for the first time, that's enough. You begin to notice how little you need to explain yourself now. How silence no longer feels awkward. How waiting no longer feels heavy. That's because you're no longer waiting. You're aligned. I saw you recognizing yourself again. Not the version shaped by pressure or expectation, but the one you were before life taught you to doubt your instincts. That version was always right. You'll start trusting your pauses, your instincts, your sudden clarity. You won't rush decisions just to escape uncertainty. You'll let things reveal themselves. And they will. There is a quiet authority forming in you. Not dominance. Presence. People will feel it before you speak. They'll listen more closely. They'll treat your time differently. Not because you demand respect, but because you respect yourself. I saw you choosing quality over quantity, depth over distraction, meaning over momentum. And that choice protects everything you build next. What once felt like loneliness transforms into discernment. You realize you weren't isolated, you were being refined. You needed space to hear yourself clearly, and now you do. There's no dramatic finale here. No explosion of proof. Just a steady, undeniable sense that you're exactly where you're meant to be. And that feeling? It doesn't fade. It becomes your foundation. You don't need to hold on to this message anymore. It's already part of you. Whatever comes next, you're ready to meet it, without fear, without force, without hesitation. This isn't the end. It's the moment everything finally feels real. You're still listening, and that matters more than you realize. Because this is the phase most people never reach. I saw the moment you stop trying to become someone new and finally allow yourself to be who you already are. That's the turning point. You no longer chase motivation. You move from intention. You don't wait to feel ready, you act from clarity. And clarity doesn't shout. It settles. I saw you becoming comfortable with uncertainty, not because you lack direction, but because you trust your direction even when the path isn't fully visible. That trust changes how life responds to you. Delays stop feeling personal. Silence stops feeling like rejection. You understand that movement is happening even when nothing appears to change. And that understanding keeps you steady. I saw you choosing yourself in small, quiet ways. Saying no without guilt. Saying yes without fear. Walking away without drama. Those choices stack up. They build a version of you that doesn't break under pressure. People will start asking how you stay so calm. How you seem so sure. How you move without rushing. You won't have an answer for them. Because the answer isn't something you learned. It's something you remembered. You remembered your worth without needing proof. Your direction without approval. Your strength without struggle. And once that memory returns, nothing can take it from you. I saw your future standing open, not wide, not overwhelming, just open enough for you to walk through when you're ready. And you are. Not because everything is perfect, but because you are grounded. This chapter doesn't demand your attention. It rewards your presence. So keep walking. Keep listening to what feels steady, not loud. You don't need another sign after this. You're already moving in the right direction. This is the quiet ending most people never hear. Not because it isn't powerful, but because it doesn't chase attention. I saw you arrive at a place where nothing needs to be forced anymore, where effort and resistance finally release each other. You stop measuring progress by noise. You stop seeking confirmation from outside. You feel it instead. There's a grounded certainty now, not excitement, not urgency, just truth. I saw you realizing that the future you feared losing was never truly yours. And the future that belongs to you can't miss you. That realization sets you free. You move with intention now. You choose with awareness. You speak when it matters, and remain silent when it doesn't. And life responds differently to that kind of presence. What once felt heavy no longer follows you. Not because it disappeared, but because you no longer carry it. You've stepped into self-trust. And self-trust changes everything. I saw you smiling at something small one day, a moment so ordinary that no one else would notice. But you will. Because in that moment, you'll realize, this is what peace feels like. Not the absence of challenges, the absence of inner conflict. And that peace becomes your new normal. There's nothing left to prove, nothing left to chase, nothing left to escape, only direction. This message doesn't end with a command or a promise. It ends with recognition. You know now, and because you know, you'll move differently from here on. That's the future I saw, and it's already unfolding. This is the final moment, not because the journey ends, but because the seeking does. I saw you reach a place where you no longer ask life to show you who you are. You already know. And that knowing settles deep. There's a stillness that comes with it. Not emptiness, completion. You stop waiting for a breakthrough, because you realize the breakthrough already happened inside you. Nothing dramatic announces it. No sudden miracle. Just a steady sense of alignment that doesn't fade when things get quiet. I saw you living without the constant need to explain your choices, without the fear of being misunderstood, without the pressure to become anything other than what feels true. That freedom is rare. You once thought strength meant holding on. Now you understand it means letting go, of fear, of comparison, of the version of yourself that survived but never rested. You are resting now, not from life, but in yourself. And from that place, everything you touch carries intention. I saw your future clearly, not as a single moment, but as a way of moving through the world. Calm, aware, unshakable. Challenges still appear, but they no longer define you. Uncertainty still exists, but it no longer controls you. You've crossed the point of no return. Not because you can't go back, but because you won't want to. The version of you who doubted, who waited, who wondered if this was all there is, that version served its purpose. Honor it, then move forward. Nothing is chasing you now. Nothing is testing you. Life is responding. And if there's one thing you carry with you after this moment, let it be this: you were never late. You were never forgotten. You were never lost. You were becoming. And now, you are ready. This is where the echo fades, and the knowing remains. I saw you stop replaying old versions of yourself in your mind. Not with regret, with understanding. You finally see why you had to be who you were back then. Why you held on. Why you stayed quiet. Why you waited longer than you should have. It wasn't weakness. It was survival turning into wisdom. There is a softness in you now that didn't exist before. Not fragility, depth. You don't react the way you used to. You pause. You observe. You choose. And in that pause, you protect your future. I saw you no longer measuring yourself against timelines that were never yours. You stop asking, "Am I behind?" Because you finally understand, you were never racing anyone. You were walking your own path. There's a peace in that realization that no one can give you and no one can take away. I saw you become patient in a new way. Not the patience that waits in fear, but the patience that trusts movement even when it's quiet. You don't need reassurance anymore. You don't need signs stacked on signs. You recognize alignment when it appears, and you let go when it doesn't. That discernment is your protection. People may still misunderstand you. Situations may still challenge you, but they no longer shake your foundation. Because your foundation is no longer outside of you. It's within. I saw you standing in a moment, ordinary, simple, and realizing you're no longer searching for meaning. You're living it. That's when you know this message has done its work. There's nothing left to add. Nothing left to convince. Only this quiet truth remaining. You are exactly where you need to be, and you are moving forward, with clarity, with steadiness, with trust. And from here, everything continues naturally. This is the point where the words loosen their grip, because they no longer need to hold you. I saw you stop listening for answers and start listening to yourself. Not in a loud way, in a grounded one. You begin to notice how natural it feels to move forward now. No resistance. No second guessing. Just quiet momentum. You don't feel like you're proving anything anymore. You don't feel like you're catching up. You don't feel like you're missing something. That absence, the absence of urgency, is the clearest sign of growth. I saw you understanding something most people never do. That peace isn't found after everything works out. It's found when you stop fighting what already is. And from that peace, things work out differently. Better. You trust your timing now. You trust your instincts. You trust the pauses as much as the movement. You don't chase clarity. You allow it. And it comes. There's a steadiness in you that doesn't depend on outcomes. A confidence that doesn't announce itself. A strength that doesn't need resistance to exist. You move slower, but further. You choose less, but better. You speak less, but with intention. I saw you no longer afraid of the unknown. Because you finally understand, you can meet whatever comes as you are now. You're not searching for yourself anymore. You're living from yourself. That's the shift. This message doesn't end with intensity. It ends with grounding. Nothing is being taken from you. Nothing is being withheld. You are simply continuing, with clarity instead of confusion, with trust instead of tension, with presence instead of fear. And that is enough. That has always been enough. This is where the voice grows quiet, because it no longer needs to guide you. I saw you reach a place where you stop asking, "What if?" and start living from, "I know." Not certainty about outcomes, certainty about yourself. That's the deepest shift of all. You don't rush moments anymore. You let them arrive. You let them teach you. And you no longer fear stillness, because stillness now feels like strength. I saw you trusting your inner rhythm instead of the world's noise. You stop absorbing other people's urgency. You stop carrying expectations that were never yours. You breathe deeper. You move cleaner. You choose with care. There is a quiet dignity in you now. Not pride, alignment. You don't need to be understood by everyone. You only need to be honest with yourself. And you are. I saw you realizing that happiness isn't a peak you reach, it's a state you allow. You don't wait for permission to feel whole anymore. You don't postpone peace. You claim it, gently, consistently. The future you once imagined no longer pulls at you, because the present feels solid. You're not chasing meaning. You're embodying it. And that changes how life unfolds around you. There's nothing dramatic left to say. No final warning. No urgent call. Only this quiet recognition. You've crossed into a phase where guidance becomes intuition, where faith becomes trust, where effort becomes flow. From here on, you won't need messages like this, because the voice you were listening for has become your own. This is the moment the message steps back, and your awareness steps forward. I saw you realize that nothing is missing anymore. Not because you have everything, but because you are no longer searching for completion outside yourself. That realization is quiet, almost ordinary, and yet, it changes how you live. You stop interpreting every pause as a problem. You stop reading meaning into every delay. You allow life to breathe. And in that space, things begin to unfold naturally. I saw you noticing how grounded you feel in situations that once unsettled you. How your reactions soften. How your choices feel cleaner. You don't feel the need to rush toward the next chapter, because this one feels real. You understand now that growth isn't always expansion. Sometimes it's integration. Everything you learned, everything you endured, finally settles into place. You don't carry it as weight anymore. You carry it as wisdom. I saw you trusting your own pace, honoring your own timing, respecting your own boundaries. That respect becomes the standard others follow. You don't need to announce who you've become. Your presence communicates it, and life responds to presence. This is where effort dissolves into intention, where struggle gives way to steadiness, where knowing replaces questioning. There's no urgency left in this message, no insistence, no pull, only acknowledgement. You're not being pushed forward, you're not being held back, you're simply continuing, with clarity, with balance, with a sense of quiet confidence that doesn't ask to be noticed. And that's how you'll know this part is complete. Not by a feeling of arrival, but by a feeling of ease. You're already moving, and you're doing just fine.